in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now live.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.com. wsfd-lp.org.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6 o'clock. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Top of the morning to you, Pete Coles, on this St. Patrick's Day.
Good morning.
And look at you. You're all ready with your hat and your scarf on over there. I love it.
It's not going to last very long.
And I've got my
It's
Ireland
bow
shirt
tie.
here. Oh, your bow tie.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Thank Bobby G and Company for that.
There you go. Oh, my gosh.
They brought that in last week for
Well,
their show.
It's so funny because I was thinking about getting the bowler hats for my staff, but then we've had so many windy days. I was thinking when we did curbside lunch, we'd be chasing hats all over the parking lot. So,
That's
but
funny.
I think everybody's got scarves and things that they're going to be wearing. So
The only problem is I
excited.
can't wear my headphones with this, so I have to turn the speaker up
Right.
and do the best I can.
You look great in it, though, Pete. You wear it well, my friend.
I look horrible. And I'm about half Irish.
Are you?
Yeah.
I'm zero Irish, but I married what my mother-in-law
You
gave
married
me.
into Ireland.
Yes, it was Irish by marriage. I used to have a T-shirt that my mother-in-law gave me that said Irish by marriage. So
That's funny.
yeah.
That's funny.
So so now, Pete, are you? I don't know if you're like the rest of my staff, but we're still all discombobulated because of daylight savings time. I mean, Karen Nobla came out on Monday morning and she said, "I feel like I shouldn't be here yet, and I want to still be in my jammies."
It's weird
time.
because
Isn't that
this time of year, I wake up like 2 minutes before my alarm.
Okay.
I have no idea why. And during the
Okay.
winter, I'll wake up like once because I'm getting older. You gotta
Yes.
get up once.
Oh yeah.
In the night to
oh, trust me,
whatever.
I absolutely know that. Yes,
Usually like
absolutely.
1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
Right now it's like 4:27. Every day since daylight savings.
Okay.
4:27 like clockwork.
And then what is your alarm set for 4:30?
Yes.
Is that what time you get up? Yeah.
The second alarm set for 5. I go back to bed.
Oh my gosh, Pete, I give you so much credit because when I was pulling in the parking lot today, I just thought, oh my God, Pete has to do this every day. I mean, I do it once a week and that's enough.
Yeah.
And I feel like, well, part of it for me is because I'm typically at the senior center pretty late, but you are also busy doing all these meetings at night, so you're also going into the wee hours.
Somebody thought I was funny when I first said this, but I've learned how to take naps.
Yeah, well, I think you really have to.
Seriously,
Yeah.
because it just,
Yeah.
if not, you'll never get any sleep
Yeah.
or enough sleep.
Right, exactly. You'll just be chronically
I mean, last night
tired.
was great because I was done my meetings around. Jenna had the planning board, so I was done my meetings around 7:15,
Okay.
and my girlfriend came up for dinner, so we had dinner. Usually, we're eating dinner in my office
Mm-hmm.
while I'm doing a meeting and we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, we actually got to watch a TV show, which was
Oh my
unusual.
gosh. Yeah, nice, right? Wow. Well, I know today is finance committee
I got double meetings
because
all night long.
because
I
I'm
think.
involved in that one. So
Yeah, I got doubles all night long, I believe.
mm,
So it'll be a busy night tonight.
yeah.
I'm taking Friday off though
Okay.
because
good.
I have nothing scheduled for Friday, and I have to use my personal days. And I heard something from Cindy Sullivan
Okay.
when I was doing the school committee meeting Monday night, and she said something about we want people to use their sick time. There's no buybacks, things like that.
Yeah.
We want people to use their sick time. and or not their sick time, their
Their
vacation
personal-
time.
Oh, vacation time, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Have you been able to use your vacation time or?
You're kidding, right?
Well, you know what?
I know, Pete. No, I haven't. I don't know when I'm supposed to do this. And,
well, I'm going to subscribe to that thing. You know what? There's just clear a day and take a day off.
Yeah.
Because if we're not operating at
I know.
peak efficiency, we're no good to anybody else.
I know. It's been really hard. I had, at one point a couple of weeks ago, Pete, I had like 3 staff out at the same time.
That's different.
And it's really hard. It's just been really challenging. I mean, for extended periods of time, though, for different reasons. And then, you're trying to cover. And I think this whole vaccine thing it's just taken over our lives.
Supposedly today the governor's coming out and saying that he's going to give his roadmap for everybody else because now the vaccine's becoming very prevalent. In availability.
That would be I feel like I said to Mary Lou the other day, I feel like we're starting to turn a corner, and I feel like it will be. I'm just sort of getting a little wind here and there, but I feel like it will be more available, especially to the local pharmacies, which would be really wonderful. So I know that Stop and Shop is partnering with the Westfield Housing Authority, and they are starting their vaccine program this week because we will be assisting them. We had offered to help anybody that could get vaccines to our older folks. I said the COA staff will help in whatever way we can. Transporting people. Getting you wheelchair, whatever you need. And so my staff will be helping with that tomorrow and Friday. So that's really fantastic because getting a lot of the seniors done that are living in senior housing is awesome. I mean that takes a whole lot of people. So that's been great. But we've also now been starting to contact people to ask them, where are you in this process? Have you been vaccinated? Have you had the first shot? Have you had both shots? Have you not been able to register? Do you need transportation? So, and I have to say, Pete, we've made like a zillion phone calls this week, hundreds of phone calls this week to just begin to check on those people that are that we were most concerned about, especially our folks in their 80s and 90s. And I have to say, we've been pleasantly surprised at how many have at least gotten their first vaccine. A lot of families have been wonderful, have really stepped up to the plate to, help their loved ones out, get them registered, get them, get the transportation over there. Of course, the ones that I worry about are the ones that don't have family to help them. And those are the people that we're saying, please call us. We will help you to, figure it all out. But I really, really have to give a shout out to Joyce Peregrine. Joyce is our companion program coordinator. She took over for Fran Aguda when Fran retired a couple of years ago. And Joyce has really been our point person on everything COVID vaccine because it just got to be where I needed one person who, we could kind of funnel phone calls to, and then she could, tell us, okay, now that you need to do this and you need to do that.
Right.
Joyce is, we tease her mercilessly. I mean, every day, but Joyce is a spreadsheet fanatic. So every time anything comes up, she's
librarian.
like, exactly. That is exactly it, Pete. That's exactly the reason. But she is so funny because no matter what I say, well, we really need to look at this or that. Joyce is like, okay, I'll make a spreadsheet. But I'll tell you what, those spreadsheets sure do come in handy. So Joyce Peregrine, we love you. We thank you. She's been putting in tons and tons of hours, doing a lot of work from her home, coming in when she's not supposed to. And her husband said to her, he goes, is this our life? And so I said to Joyce, tell Jerry to call Gary, and Gary will say, yes, this is your life now, Joyce.
Yes, but maybe it shouldn't be.
I know. But at least until we get more people vaccinated. And again, I feel really encouraged. Last week, I felt pretty defeated, as did just about all of the Western Mass COA directors. But this week, I think we're all feeling a little bit more positive.
See, this is what I was trying to tell JPEG Luca. Jay's been very pessimistic because he's trying to plan the concerts and everything. I'm like,
yeah.
Jay, I've been watching this thing since the beginning, and I have this innate ability to step back and look at the 50,000-foot level.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the point of we're turning the corner now.
I feel like that.
As a nation.
Yeah.
Not maybe as a globe, But as a nation,
No,
we're
certainly not as a globe, but we in the United States are pretty lucky. But
Right,
yes, as a nation,
we're
you're
turning
right,
the
Pete.
corner.
Yep.
So now I'm looking long range and looking at how this thing progressed in months, not in days or weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But I think by July 4th, I think we will be okay.
I'm hoping.
I really do. Well,
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
said the same thing. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a little bit less pessimistic than most people.
Well, no, I feel like
But I'm
this
like,
summer,
we're
I'm
at the
not sure about
corner.
July, but I do feel like I'm looking at it, Pete, more like by the end of the summer. I think, yeah.
Oh, by the end of summer, I think we'll be completely
be in decent
completely
shape.
back to normal. I think they're going to continue making us wear the mask, which I think is foolish, but that's a whole nother thing. But I'm still planning on going to the World Series in the mid-July.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have a couple weeks off from me.
Well, I have I have a family reunion vacation planned for, I believe we decided on like mid-August up in Maine. My whole family.
I think it'll be good.
And I'm really feeling like it's going to happen. It was really hard for me to think that a couple of months ago, but we made all the reservations. It is my brother and sister-in-law's 50th wedding anniversary. And the funny thing is, it will be Gary and my 40th wedding anniversary. Grace turns 30 this year. And and Grace said if they make it, if we get up there to Maine in mid-August, she will celebrate her 1-year anniversary with her boyfriend, which is the first ever for Grace. Grace doesn't usually last more than 6 weeks, and they're already past
It's
6
called
months.
maturing.
Yes, it is called maturing. So she and we were laughing about it, but she is dating a fantastic guy. You know who she met after the pandemic started?
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, no,
yeah.
we met.
Were you
we
just
met
before, right?
Right just before, but
Yeah.
right about the time you're really starting to date somebody.
Yes.
Because we met online, so that you
And
don't
that is-
automatically go to in-person dating when you
No,
meet
and
online.
Pete, that's how Grace did, same thing online, and it was
Right.
but it's Isaac is a great guy. So
And the other thing
Yeah.
about the vaccine too is,
Yeah.
with the amount of production they're putting out,
yes, I just heard a piece
once-
on that coming in.
once we get done with this country,
Mhm.
now we can export it out and get it to countries that can't produce
Yes.
their own type of thing,
Yep.
or have shortages, whatever.
Yeah.
This is what America does. We take care of ourselves first, or we should.
Mhm.
We don't always do that. But then we help the rest of the world.
Mhm.
We're the world's
Yep.
policemen and all this other stuff.
Yep.
Well, now we're going to be the world's angel in disguise.
Hopefully.
This
Yep.
is what we do around here. So,
Yeah.
I
Things
give 'em
are
credit.
looking up. Things are looking up, Pete.
Took a lot of work from a lot of people
It did.
at
It
all
did.
levels of government,
Yep.
over 2 presidents,
Yep.
and now we're getting it done.
Yep. All right. So it is St. Patrick's Day. It is March 17th, and there were quite a few people who were born on St. Patrick's Day. So let's talk about the first one so that you know why I'm playing this really cool song to start out with. It is the birthday of the late Gottlieb Daimler. He was an engineer and inventor. I was telling Gary about this guy the other day when we were watching some TV, and I said, I've learned more stuff doing these famous birthdays. So Gottlieb Daimler was born March 17th, 1834 in Germany. He died in 1900, just shy of his 66th birthday. He died on March 6th, so it was just a few weeks before he turned 66. But Gottlieb Daimler was an engineer, industrial designer, industrialist, pioneer of the modern internal combustion engine, and a workaholic before the term was invented. A man after my own heart, Pete. Daimler collaborated with Wilhelm Maybach, and their dream was to create small, high-speed engines to be mounted in any kind of locomotion device. They designed a precursor of the modern petrol engine, which they subsequently fitted to a two-wheeler, considered the first motorcycle, and in the next year to a stagecoach and then a boat. In 1896, the Daimler Company produced the first road truck, and in 1900, the company produced the first Mercedes automobile, named for the daughter of the financier who was backing Daimler. Interesting.
Is it Daimler?
Daimler? Is that how
Yeah,
you
it's
Daimler.
Daimler.
Yes, you're right.
Chrysler,
Daimler Chrysler. Yes. Interestingly, the man who is widely credited with pioneering the modern automobile industry apparently did not like to drive and may never have driven at all. So, yes, Daimler. That you're right, Pete. It's Gottlieb Daimler. So happy birthday to Mr. Daimler, who
So if
really
I look,
was,
if I look back, we don't how many countries celebrate Father's Day?
I don't.
Because if I
know
look
when.
back 9 months, Father's Day is June 19th.
Oh,
or
gotcha.
June 20th.
Yes.
Like the middle of June.
Yep. And so that's where all these famous St. Patrick's Day
I don't
birthdays
know.
came, Pete. I
Well,
don't know.
if you backtrack 9 months, that's
Well,
9 months.
Yeah, there you go. And,
I always go back to go.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
when
I
there's
know.
a lot of
yes.
when
yeah.
there's a lot of birthdays on one day.
Yeah, let's flip back.
I go back 9 months and look at the dates. And
Yep.
go, okay, that makes sense.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, there were a lot of. Yeah, I know. I get you.
So mid November babies.
Yeah.
They're all to Valentine's Day.
And then if you go back to
Like
the
my
New
brother.
New Year's Eve babies, those are like the October babies, or like the New Year's Eve ones.
Those are St. Patrick's Day.
What?
If you're New Year's Eve, if you go back to mid March.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, 9 months, 9 to 12.
Okay. I'm losing it. Yeah, you're right. That's right. You're right. All right, so let's do a song. Let's take a break. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So in honor of Gottlieb's birthday, we are going to play Born to be Wild by Steppenwolf. So we'll wake it up.
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway. Looking for adventure. And whatever comes our way. Yeah, darling, go make it happen. Take the world in a love embrace. Fire all of your guns at once and explode into space. I like smoking lightning. Heavy metal thunder, racing with the wind, and the feeling that I'm under. Yeah, darling, go make it happen. Take the world in a love embrace. Fire all of your guns at once and explode into space. Like a true nature's child, we were born to be wild. We can climb so high, I never wanna die. Born to be wild. Born to be wild. Get your motor running. Head out on the highway. Looking for adventure. And whatever comes our way. Yeah, darling, go make it happen. Take the world in a love embrace. Fire all of your guns at once and explode into space. Like a true nature's child. We were born to be wild. We can climb so high. I never wanna die. Born to be wild. Born to be wild.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at betsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Join us the third Wednesday of every month with Selectman Joe Didi and his take on everything Southwick.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:20. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and on this St. Patrick's Day, I'm joined by Pete Coles, the chairman of the board and our producer. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So it is the third Wednesday of the month. So in the second hour, we will be joined by Jen Jaffune. Jennifer Jaffune is a registered dietitian, and she's the facilitator of our monthly Diabetes Dialogue show. I did send out a flyer to all of our support group, Diabetes Dialogue support group members, so that they know that today's topic is, I think it's really going to be a fun topic. It's on recipes and, where to go to get some good recipes for that are diabetic friendly. And Jen is also going to, talk about how to take some of those tried and true family recipes that you love, but they're not really so diabetic friendly, and maybe how to tweak them a little bit to make them more diabetic friendly.
Okay.
She'll talk about some flavorings and using spices, and she'll also talk about, and I think this is really important because how many seniors have I heard tell me, I don't cook? So she's also going to talk about meal preparation for those people who don't cook, who don't like to cook, who don't know how to cook, who don't want to cook, but they still have to eat. And you still want to be, fairly healthy. So, and I have a great story to share when Jen gets here with somebody who called me yesterday looking for some medical equipment and her successes with her own diabetes. So, and it was funny, Pete, when we were listening to Born to Be Wild by Steppenwolf, I was thinking, boy, am I going to be all over the map with my music this morning, because the next birthday that I want to talk about today is the birthday of the late Nat King Cole. So talk about the opposite of like Steppenwolf is Nat King Cole. He was born in Montgomery, Alabama. I did not realize how young he was when he passed away. He was only 45.
Yeah.
He died in 1965. He first came to prominence as a jazz pianist. We think of Nat King Cole as a singer, which of course he was. He had a beautiful voice, but he really started as a jazz pianist. He owes most of his popular musical fame to his soft baritone voice, which he used to perform in big band and jazz genres. By the 1950s, Nat King Cole emerged as a popular solo performer. He scored numerous hits with such songs as Nature Boy, Mona Lisa, Too Young, and Unforgettable. As an African-American performer, Cole struggled to find his place in the civil rights movement. He had encountered racism firsthand, especially while touring in the South. In 1956, Cole had been attacked by white supremacists during a mixed-race performance in Alabama. He was rebuked by other African Americans, however, for his less than supportive comments about racial integration, which he made after the show. And Nat King Cole basically took the stance that he was an entertainer, not an activist. In 1956, he became the first African-American performer to host a variety television series, and for many white families, he was the first black man welcomed into their living rooms each night. The Nat King Cole Show featured many of the leading performers of the day, including Count Basie, Peggy Lee, Sammy Davis Jr., and Tony Bennett. Unfortunately, the series didn't last long, going off the air in December of 1957. Cole blamed the show's demise on the lack of a national sponsor, and in fact, the sponsorship problem has been seen as a reflection of the racial issues of the times, with no company seemingly wanting to back a program that featured African-American entertainers. How long ago that was. Since his death, Nat King Cole's music has endured. His rendition of the Christmas song has become a holiday classic, and many of his other signature songs are frequently selected for film and television soundtracks. His daughter, Natalie Cole, also carried on the family profession, becoming a successful singer in her own right. In 1991, she helped her father achieve a posthumous hit. Natalie recorded his hit Unforgettable, and they put their vocals together as a duet. So we are going to listen to that song a little bit later in the show. But it's a beautiful song. So happy
classic.
birthday. It is a classic. It really is a classic. It's also the birthday today of John Sebastian, singer, songwriter, guitarist. He was born St. Patrick's Day, 1944, in New York City. He is 77 years old today, and he is best known as a founder of the musical group The Lovin' Spoonful. The Lovin' Spoonful, which blended folk rock and pop with elements of blues, country, and jug band music, became part of the American response to the British invasion. Hits included Do You Believe in Magic?, Summer in the City, Daydream, Did You Ever Have to Make Up Your Mind?, You Didn't Have to Be So Nice, and Darlin' Be Home Soon. Sebastian left the Lovin' Spoonful in 1968 and embarked on a solo career. He has stated that his musical career suffered in the early 1970s from being out of step with the trends set by emerging artists such as Alice Cooper, and that he made more money buying and selling real estate than he did from his music. However, in 1976, Sebastian had an unexpected #1 single with Welcome Back, which became the theme song to the sitcom Welcome Back, Kotter. So happy birthday to John Sebastian, and we're going to listen to Welcome Back later
Buster's
on.
theme song. That's Michael Buster McMahon's theme song.
It is?
Yeah, he's doing an alumni show. Yeah, absolutely.
It's I didn't realize that. Well, you know what? The timing of his show, I never get to listen to it because I'm always
Right.
at the office by then. So,
Yep.
Oh, how fun. All right. We'll do another birthday. It is the birthday of Katie Ledecky. You might remember that name. She's an Olympic swimmer. She was born on this date in 1997 in Washington, D.C. She is the ripe old age of 24. So Kathleen Genevieve Ledecky is an American competitive swimmer. Here's what she's done in her 24 short years. She has won 5 Olympic gold medals and 15 World Championship gold medals, the most in history for a female swimmer. In her international debut at the 2012 London Olympics at the ripe old age of 15, Ledecky unexpectedly won the gold medal in the women's 800-meter freestyle. 4 years later, she left Rio de Janeiro as the most decorated female athlete of the 2016 Olympics with 4 gold medals, 1 silver medal, and 2 world records. In total, she has won 34 medals, 28 golds, 5 silvers, and 1 bronze in major international competitions spanning the Summer Olympics, World Championships, and Pan-Pacific Championships. During her career, Katie Ledecky has broken 14 world records. She's 24 years old, for heaven's sakes. I'm amazed.
Yeah.
So happy 24th birthday to Katie Ledecky. We'll do our final birthday for today. And now I understand why this actor's name is the name that it is. It is the birthday of Patrick Duffy, actor born March 17th, St. Patrick's Day in 1949 in Towson, Montana. Patrick Duffy is 72 years old. He is best known for playing good guy Bobby Ewing on the hit drama Dallas, which ran from 1978 to 1991. The drama centered around a wealthy Texas family. He landed the role after starring on the 1976 sci-fi television series Man from Atlantis. Do you remember Man from Atlantis, Pete?
No.
It only ran for like a season or two. It wasn't a huge hit. But anyway, Jim Davis and Barbara Bel Geddes played the Ewing family patriarch and matriarch, Jock and Miss Ellie. Larry Hagman, of course, played his ruthless older brother, J.R., and Linda Gray played J.R.'s long-suffering wife, Sue Ellen. While not an immediate hit, Dallas eventually became one of Primetime's top shows and a pop culture sensation. By 1985, despite the show's popularity, Patrick Duffy had become tired of always playing the nice guy. It was kind of a white bread role. He left the series in search of more adventurous lead parts, and at the end of that season, Ewing was killed off the show. Or so viewers thought. After Duffy's departure, Dallas took a dive in the ratings. So, not long after, in 1986, Duffy was convinced to return to the show and his character. So, how do you explain someone who died and came back? Well, the show's writer explained Ewing's disappearance with a now famous shower scene where he reappeared, revealing that his demise had been only a dream. While this tactic was not popular with everyone, it has become a noted part of television history. Patrick Duffy later starred on the 1990s sitcom Step by Step and reprised the role of Ewing for a 2012 Dallas reboot. So happy birthday, happy 72nd birthday to actor Patrick Duffy. And he's still looking pretty good at 72. I've seen pictures. He looks good. All right, it is 6:30. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We are going to listen to Nat King Cole and Natalie Cole with their duet of his famous song, Unforgettable. We'll be back.
Unforgettable, that's what you are.
Unforgettable, though near or far.
Like a song of love that clings to me, how the thought of you does things to me never before. Has someone been more
Unforgettable in every way,
and forevermore?
and forevermore.
That's how you'll stay.
That's how you'll stay.
That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too.
Someone been more unforgettable, in every way, and forevermore. That's how you'll stay.
That's how you'll stay. That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. on the web at rockies.com. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com, offering Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Information on all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area is available online at Xfinity.com.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:35. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host on this St. Patrick's Day, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
He's taken off his bowler hat.
Yeah, I wanted to put on the headphones.
Okay, yeah.
It's getting hard to hear.
Yes, I understand. We will be joined second hour by Jennifer Jaffoon, our diabetes dialogue facilitator, and Jen it'll be a fun show. She'll be sharing some recipes and where to get some good recipes on some good healthy menus, and she'll talk about tweaking your tried and true family recipes to make them a little bit healthier and more diabetic friendly. And, you know, interestingly, Gary and I have talked about this, my husband and I have talked about this, but when Jen recommends, when people want to lose weight, and she'll often get the question, you know, what diet should I follow? Should I follow, you know, this, the low carb or the this or the gluten-free or whatever?
Whatever you can follow.
Generally, what she'll tell them is follow a diabetic diet, because if you're following a diabetic diet, you're going to be eating healthier foods and preparing it in a healthier way. So we'll talk more about that when Jen is here second hour. I have a couple of, I totally forgot to do this last week, and I felt really badly. I promised Harold Anderson from Valley Eye Radio that I would announce this, and then we just got bogged down last week. It was a busy show. I had Eric Bishop here, you know, from the fire department.
Mm-hmm.
It was Brown Bag Day, so I forgot to do this. Valley Eye Radio was started in order primarily for as a reading service.
It was the Western Mass Radio Reading Service.
Correct. For people who were blind and low vision and who could not read, you know, and especially this was before computers, because it started a long time ago, before computers were super popular and people could increase fonts on screens and so forth. But anyway, it was a reading service, and one of the things that they do is they read the news. So, and they still do that. And so Harold is looking for someone, the person who has been reading the Westfield News on a daily basis for Valley Eye Radio has to take a leave of absence. And so they are looking for one or more people. The person who's doing it currently, I believe, does it every day. But as Harold said, you don't have to commit to every day. I mean, if you could maybe read it once a week and they can get 5 different people, that would be wonderful as well. So if you are interested in that, or you could do that, you know, my feeling is, listen, if you read the Westfield News every day anyway for yourself, why not read it out loud? You know, help some of your neighbors out. So if you're interested in doing that, and I would really encourage you to make that commitment. You know, I get a lot of people who say, I want to volunteer, I want to help, well, this is a volunteer position and a phenomenal way to help people in the community. So the telephone number for Harold is 747 7337. And if you forget that, just call me at the Senior Center. But it's 747 7337. And I think I may put that, I think I'm going to put this in my April Voice of Experience newsletter as well. So if, again, it would be reading the Westfield News. And by the way, thank you to the Westfield News. I need to shout out to Hope Tremblay for running my series of Retire the Fire articles over the last couple of weeks. She kind of spread it out a little bit. So we have now done the entire 5-part series. So if you wonder what I do in my spare time, I feel like I write a lot of articles for the Westfield News. But that was great. Thank you. We've gotten good feedback on that, some good information in those articles on keeping people safe as we, continue to kind of celebrate Retire the Fire Month at the Senior Center. And they also did a really nice story. Lori Sapalik did a really nice story yesterday. They're doing a series on the 1-year anniversary of the pandemic and how, people have coped and how they've changed. And so they did a very nice story on the Council on Aging that appeared in yesterday's paper. And I really wanted people, that was obviously an extensive interview for those of you who read it, but I really wanted people to know what my staff has been doing behind the scenes, because how would you know that if I don't tell you? You just, you know that we do meals. And by the way, don't call in this morning. This is a special meal. It's our St. Patrick's Day corned beef and cabbage. It was a call ahead. It was an advance registration, which of course we sold out. And of course, by the time I got to the Senior Center at 5:30 this morning, before I came to the show, Joanne and George were in there, and the pots are a-boiling and everything's a-cooking and it's smelling just like...
It was tough to find...
It smells like dinner, for heaven's sake.
Tough to find corned beef this year, somebody said.
Really? I live in West Springfield, so I go to the Ye Old Butcher Shop in West
There you go.
Springfield. And my Gracie went to Catholic school with all the kids that... the LaFlammes that own the shop. So I had no trouble. And in fact, I made it because I have the finance committee meeting tonight, Pete. I said to Gary, you know what, let's do the corned beef thing over the weekend when I have lots of time. And, we can, I don't have to be rushing home from work and eating at 9 o'clock at night. So
I may try to find one
we
today
did.
and make a pastrami.
Oh, it was so good. I love corned beef.
No, actually make pastrami out of it in the smoker, because I was running the smoker
How long
yesterday.
does it take to do that, though, Pete?
A couple hours.
Okay. I would think I thought it would.
It's mainly about getting the right flavoring for the outside, the crust.
Yep.
And you have to debrine. You have to debrine the corned beef because it's very salty. Especially if you smoke it.
Yes.
It gets more concentrated, so you got to really soak it in water and debrine it a little bit.
Okay.
I've done that.
Well, can you do that? That sounds like a plan. Can you do that? Or are you gonna have some time to rush home this afternoon?
I don't know. Maybe. If not,
Okay.
I'll have it tomorrow.
Okay. Well, yeah.
I want to get it done before the snow happens, though.
Yeah.
Tonight will be the last good day for a couple days.
When are we getting snow?
Rain I think there's going to be rain in the forecast for the next couple of days.
Okay. All right. Yikes.
Some of the overnights might be cold enough to produce a little bit
bit of snow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thankfully today is
we're
going
getting towards
to be,
spring.
Yeah, today's going to be in the 50s, which is the low 50s, which is really nice for our St. Patrick's Day thing. So yeah, curbside lunch, and it'll be wild and crazy there.
Yeah.
Also, in the category of people looking for help, the Westfield Public Schools substitute crossing guards wanted. Mark Carbonell gave me this from the police department.
Yeah, they always struggle to find people.
Always struggling for crossing guards. So these are substitute crossing guards. So some of the duties and responsibilities, the school crossing guards.
Actually, they call them traffic supervisors.
I'm just telling you, this is the flyer that I got from the police department. I promised them I would read it. So, and it says substitute crossing guards. Well, I guess they people know what a crossing guard is.
They don't know what a traffic supervisor is.
Exactly.
I'd
be thinking like
titles, that's what it is.
So school crossing guards work a minimum of 2 hours per day and a maximum of 4 hours per day, depending on the school location. They report to the assigned post and remain on the site until the conclusion of school in the AM and or PM. They are responsible for ensuring that children use proper crossing locations and are not in the roadway while traffic is moving. And they have to be continuously, obviously, aware of their surroundings and maintain ability to remove themselves and the children from harm's way. So if you are interested, I would just call the school personnel department. They've got this big, long, email address. But quite honestly, if you're interested, call the school personnel department and let them know that you'd be interested in doing that, especially, as a substitute. So it wouldn't necessarily be every day, but... All right. Let's see. You know what? It's time for a break, and then I have some announcements on some things happening at the senior center, in the parking lot, and on Channel 15 on our special programming here. So we are going to tone it way down from where we started with "Born to Be Wild" by Steppenwolf. And I figure, it's St. Patrick's Day, so I said to Gary, we need to, choose some Irish music. But as Gary said, Tina, you cannot get away with doing a radio show on St. Patrick's Day and not playing Danny Boy. So we are going to play Danny Boy. And I've chosen the Celtic Woman version just because I think it's beautiful. So we'll be back.
Oh, Danny Boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. It's you must go and I must bide. But come me back when summer's in the meadow, when the valley's hushed and white with snow, and I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so. But when ye come and all the flowers are dying, if I am dead, as dead I will maybe, you'll come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave there for me, and I shall hear the soft dew tread above me, and on my grave will warmer, sweeter be. For you will bend and tell me that you love me, and I shall sleep in peace until you come to
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Oh, top of the morning to you this St. Patrick's Day. It is 6:48. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I am your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning. Do you know that song, You Can't Play That at a Catholic Funeral in church?
Really?
Yep. It's a song of war.
I didn't know that.
Yep. It's been banned for a couple of decades.
Huh. I didn't know that, but now that I'm thinking about all of my, when Gary's parents passed away, that was not played. You're right.
Yep.
Well, we played hymns. I mean,
I know a lot of people were annoyed about that.
Huh. Okay.
Because it's also a secular song, but it's a song of war. That's why they don't allow it.
Okay. Well, I can tell you.
I know people have done it at wakes and stuff.
Yes, but I can tell you that having planned several funerals for parents over the last several years, the Catholic, they're very strict about like the hymns that are allowed to be played. Like you kind of have a list of the hymns that you're allowed to do during the during the mass.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right, Pete. I think at the wake, at the funeral home, different story.
Yep.
But I did not. It's not that I just
somebody
never really
told me
thought
that.
about it. Yeah.
It's one of those things that somebody told me a while ago, and I was like, I had to double check it, but I was like, I believe that's still the case.
I'm guessing that it is.
All right. I did. I double checked it. It is the case.
Okay. A few announcements here. Speaking of St. Patrick's Day, we have our Channel 15 entertainment for this month, which is on Wednesday afternoons and Saturday evenings. Great day for the Irish, songs from the Hollywood classics, and that is the performer is Kevin Farley. Kevin is no stranger to the Westfield Senior Center. He was entertaining us on an annual basis pretty much even when we were in the old Senior Center. Kevin lives up in Maine, so he would venture down this way. And usually I had to book him in early March. He didn't come like right on or near St. Patrick's Day. He was usually up in Maine for those performances.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a favorite. So he is doing, so he did a performance, and you can view that on Wednesdays at 2:40 p.m., and on Saturday evenings at 6 p.m. And if you're really lucky, Pete also sneaks it in sometimes on Thursday afternoons.
I've been throwing it around the place.
Yeah.
It might be a couple times today.
Yeah.
Maybe after Senior Center programming.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe after the meetings tonight.
We've got, McNamara's band, Wild Irish Rose, Molly Malone. I mean, Kevin he's just a great entertainer. And the thing is, he knows a lot of the history, a lot of these songs, and he plays like something like 60 different instruments, a lot of the old Irish instruments, so lots of fun. I did mention earlier that the meal today was an advanced registration meal. It's our corned beef dinner, and I do just want to shout out and a thank you to City Councilor Dave Flaherty, who provided the dessert for today's meal. And he purchased like 100 boxes of Girl Scout cookies, and we were the recipient of about half of those. So Karen and Mary Lou were busy, bagging a variety of Girl Scout cookies. We actually really lucked out with the Girl Scout cookies this year because the Westfield Police Association had donated some. They had purchased a lot and donated them to us, and we're having a special Girl Scout cookie luncheon next week with that as our dessert. But so this was a nice surprise. So thank you, City Councilor Flaherty. And speaking of city councilors, I have City Councilor Bridget Matthews-Kane will be joining us today to help direct traffic. So thank you to her for volunteering. We had her at our turkey dinner last month, our Spreading the Love turkey dinner out in the parking lot directing traffic. And she said she really enjoyed it. And she said to me, she made the mistake, Pete, of saying to me, "Oh, Tina, I'd be happy to do this again." I said, "Great. What are you doing on St. Patrick's Day?" I said, "You are going to be sorry you ever said that, Bridget." So, yep, exactly. So she'll be with us this afternoon. So thank you to her. I do want to remind folks that we are doing next Wednesday, a week from today, from 1 to 2 p.m. in the Senior Center parking lot. We are doing our Retire the Fire File of Life giveaway. If you have not gotten yet your File of Life packet, let me pull it out for you so you can see what it looks like. We will be giving these away. Looks like this. It is a magnetic packet. There you go. Magnetic strip on the back goes on your refrigerator. There's a card inside of this. You fill out the card with your medical information. It's got your basic information, of course, with your name and your phone number and address, but your emergency contacts, your medical data, your medications, all those great things, allergies, medical insurance. And that way, if you have to call 911, the first place, and I know Eric Bishop has said this, Ben Warren has said this from the fire department, first place they look is on your refrigerator, see if you have one of these, because it makes their life a lot easier. They'll grab it. The EMTs will grab it. They can glance it over, see if you have any allergies or what medication you're taking. And then they will take it with them up to the hospital emergency room, and they can turn it right over there. And it just saves everyone a lot of time. In addition to this big one, we also get a little one. And this one, same thing. It's on a smaller card, but you fill this out. Women, you're going to keep this in your purse. Gentlemen, you're going to keep this in your wallet. So if anything happens to you when you're not at home, again, that information is available for first responders because, in an emergency, we always say this, in an emergency, seconds count. So the more that they know.
That's true.
Yep, right? The more that
Absolutely.
they know, the better. We will also have cloth face masks for you. We will also have some automatic night lights I don't have a whole lot of those left, but whatever I have, those will be given out. We will also have copies of the Friend form, and the Friend form is a form that you can fill out, and you can either give it back to me or you can send it up to the dispatch. And that is if you have anyone in your household who has a vision problem, maybe somebody who uses a wheelchair, maybe somebody who's deaf, maybe somebody who has dementia or Alzheimer's, that you fill that out on the Friend form, and dispatch will put that into their database. So again, if you call 911, that's going to pull up so they can tell the first responders when they're on their way to your house, okay, this person is in a wheelchair or this person is blind. It may take them longer to get to the door. So it's just information that's helpful for the first responders to have when they go into a situation. So that's all taking place next Wednesday at 1 o'clock at the Senior Center, in the Senior Center parking lot, curbside as always. I mentioned next Thursday is our Girl Scout cookie lunch. It also happens to be George's famous meatloaf dinner. No pre-registration for that one. So you're going to call us on Thursday morning. Make sure that you call bright and early because that's going to be a quick sellout, I'm sure. Also want to remind people, we'll talk more about this in the coming weeks, but Saturday, April 17th is Document Shred Day. That will be occurring in the Senior Center parking lot. And I always like to give people, I'm giving you a month's notice. So that's plenty of time. Karen Noblet has been cleaning out her office, getting all of those old files ready to be shredded. So she's got her boxes going, folks, and you need to do the same thing. This is hosted by CSF Westfield, and that goes to local scholarships for our high school students. So we ask you to support the cause. It's $5. It's a $5 donation to CSF for every box that you bring, and it will be on Saturday, April 17th, from 9 to noon or until the truck is full. I have a feeling this truck is going to fill up quickly because they had to cancel this last year because of COVID, and some of the other shred events, some of the banks do it. I know Westfield Bank does it. I think a lot of those got canceled last year, so I think people we've been getting phone calls asking us, are you going to do the shred day? And we don't do it. We just provide the parking lot, and CSF does that. And one last thing before we take our top of the hour break, technology support for seniors. So for those of you who are still trying to figure out how to use your new smartphone or your new iPad or your new tablet, maybe one that you got for Christmas and it's been in the box since then, please call the Senior Center. We are happy to connect you with the technology students here at Westfield Technical Academy. They will set up an appointment with you and walk you through the process. They'll do a telephone consultation. We are really getting great feedback on this program. The seniors that have done it are learning a lot. They said the students are very patient. They understand that you are not tech savvy. That's why you're calling them. And this is a great learning experience for the students here at Westfield Technical Academy. It's just the senior students that are doing it, and it is under the supervision of their instructor. So they do it from here, from the school. So they only do it when they're in their shop here at the school. So by all means, you can call us at the Senior Center at 562-6435. Mary Lou Najalski is in charge of that program. She sets up the schedule, and we will get you connected to a very smart student who's going to walk you through that process. All right. We have two more things to do after the break, but I know that Jen is waiting in the wings, so that's great. It is 6:59. Yep, it is 6:59. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15.
WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:02. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host on this St. Patrick's Day. I'm in the studio with producer Pete Coles. Pete had on his his green bowler cap and his green bow tie before. They had to take it off because he can't have the cap and the headphones on. And
right.
But anyway, right, Pete?
Yep.
Happy St. Patrick's Day and waiting in the wings. We just have a couple of announcements, but is our registered dietitian, Jen Jafune, who will be doing the Diabetes Dialogue segment in about 5 minutes. I just have a couple of other announcements to do before we get started. I have to announce that today, March 17th, is National SBDC Day, and I'm always interested when I get these initials, like, what the heck does that mean? But I think this is an important one, and without Kate Phelan at the chamber anymore, I felt like I should speak to this. So during the third Wednesday in March, National Small Business Development Centers Day, there's your SBDC Day, recognizes the thousands of SBDCs across the country supporting entrepreneurs in the pursuit of small business ownership. Created in 1976, Small Business Development Centers provide innovative resources and tools that contribute to the success of startups and small businesses. Across the country on National SBCD Day, events and conferences present platforms designed to demonstrate the impact of small business development centers. From financial and business planning to technology, security, and marketing, small business development centers contribute to the overall success of small businesses. Across the United States, 63 lead small business development centers assist current and prospective small business owners. There's at least one in every state, the District of Columbia, and its territories. They provide a network of locations throughout the country that provide assistance in a wide variety of expertise. Small business development centers aren't limited to new small businesses either. If a small business is looking to expand, the SBDC offers assistance as well. So you know what? I think throughout this pandemic, there's been such a focus on small businesses because we've seen so many of them struggle. We've seen some of them close. So I always feel like it's important to promote them, and especially we always talk about supporting our local small businesses. So and you know what, Pete? I'm not sure what's happening. I remember reading in the Westfield News maybe within the last few months that I think the search for a new director of the Chamber of Commerce was on hold. I don't know I'm not sure if you heard that or not. But anyway, so
yes,
right, that's
yes,
correct?
I believe they were holding it off for several months.
Right. Okay. So without Kate Phelan, because Kate used to have her own show here,
correct,
and so I felt like it was important that I talk about National Small Business Development Centers Day. And of course, today is also St. Patrick's Day. So St. Patrick's Day kicks off a worldwide celebration, also known as the Feast of St. Patrick. On March 17th, many will wear green in honor of the Irish and decorate with shamrocks. According to lore, the wearing of the green tradition dates back to a story written about St. Patrick in 1726. St. Patrick used the shamrock to illustrate the Holy Trinity and wore green clothing. And while the story is unlikely to be true, many will revel in the Irish heritage and eat traditional Irish fare. In the United States, St. Patrick's Day has been celebrated since before the country was formed. At times, the holiday has been a bit more rowdy, with green beer, parades, and talk of leprechauns. However, in Ireland, St. Patrick's Day takes on a more solemn mood. It wasn't until events in the United States were broadcast in Ireland that some of the Yankee ways spread across the pond. One Irish-American tradition that is not so common in Ireland is eating corned beef and cabbage. So there you have it, a little Irish history for you on this St. Patrick's Day. All right, I'm done with my piece. And so let's introduce my guest this morning is Jennifer Jaffoon, registered dietitian, Jen the Dietitian, as her email address is known. So I'm super excited about today's program, Jen. Of course, I got all excited last month when we came up with this topic of, recipes and how do you prepare meals that are, I keep calling them diabetic friendly. So that was the flyer that I did and I sent out to the Diabetes Dialogue group. But you know what, before we get into that, we did have, and I do also want to remind folks, we did have someone who called me last week. She had a question, something that she had seen on television, and she had learned about this. And she said she kind of went into the middle of it. So she said, I had never heard of this. And so she called me and I said, ooh, I've never heard of it either. So she said, can you ask Jen to talk a little bit about this topic and explain it? So that's what we're doing. But before we do that, I just do want to remind people, if you have questions, first of all, you are certainly free to call us during the show this morning. The telephone number here in the studio is 642-9039. That's 642-9039. But also, you can call me ahead of time. You can send me an email, as this woman did. This is from Carol Driscoll. She had called. Feel free to do that. This happened to be something she saw on TV a week or two ago and said, she said, can Jen talk about this? And I said, of course she can. I said, especially if you call in advance, because then, Jen, if you're not sure or you need to get more information, you can do that. So why don't you talk, Jen, a little bit about what the question was and give us your response.
So first of all, I forgot to wear green.
Okay, it's
sorry,
okay.
But I am making corned beef and cabbage today.
Just
want everybody to know
that
I am celebrating the holiday. My husband's half Irish. He's an O'Keefe. So we have to.
Got to do it.
Although it's funny, he doesn't really care.
Oh.
Like corned beef and cabbage, I could cook chicken.
I'm not a big cabbage person, but I love the potatoes and carrots. So, I do the potatoes
I love
and
all the
carrots.
vegetables.
Yeah.
The corned beef I could live without.
See, I love corned beef. I really do. Okay. Question.
So the question was, what is resistant starch, and is the information about it really true? Because it sounds like one of those things that is truer, like so good it can't be true.
Right. It's like too good to be true kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. So I did a lot of research because it's not, old news. It's not, groundbreaking, but it's emerging news. So it's in its infancy.
Okay.
And I would say one thing, resistant starch is a starch, so it falls under the carbohydrate category, which immediately makes anyone managing diabetes go, well, I can't have that because it's starch.
Right.
It also falls under what I call the umbrella sort of a fiber.
Okay.
So for years, as you know, I've been touting fiber, because higher fiber, lower blood sugar.
Right.
And, a million other benefits. But this is a unique branch of the starch category.
Okay.
So resistant starch basically is what, if you looked at the name resistant, is exactly what it is. It's a starch that we can't digest in the small intestine. So we eat resistant starch, and I'll detail where it comes from in a minute, but we eat it. It goes through the small intestine into the large intestine, and because we can't break it down, we're basically feeding all the good bacteria, because the bacteria in the large intestine can. And that's what it considers its food. It's considered what's known as a prebiotic. So everybody is familiar with probiotics and how good they are.
Right.
Probiotics are good bacteria. Well, prebiotics are the food the good bacteria like to eat.
Okay.
So eating resistant starch helps our good bacteria stay happy and healthy in our digestive tract. So that's a very good thing.
Okay.
Now, if you eat a food that has a carbohydrate and part of it is resistant starch, you're not absorbing that part of that carbohydrate food because we can't. So your blood sugar won't go as high.
Okay.
And there's a whole host of other benefits by eating this resistant starch. And I don't know them off the top of my head, so I'm going to just list them. First of all, as I said, it can lower blood sugar overall because we don't get in all the carbs. So we knew that anyway as the beauty of fiber from years ago. When you eat a food, if you're testing your blood sugar 2 hours later, it's going to be lower if there's some resistant starch in there. So that's where you're going to see it most. And if you eat some at breakfast time, then your blood sugar is automatically going to be lower before you have lunch. If you eat some at lunch, then your blood sugar will be lower by the time you have dinner. So overall, it lowers it, but particularly you'll see it 2 hours after you eat a meal when you test your blood sugar.
Okay.
But it also increases what we know, what we call insulin sensitivity. So when you eat blood sugar and your body makes insulin, they're supposed to hook up together, go to the cells, and put the fuel away.
Right.
That's called insulin sensitivity. When you have diabetes, you may have this much blood sugar, but this much insulin, and then you can't get it all into the cells. Well, this resistant starch improves that situation.
Oh, okay.
So it helps with the binding and putting away of the sugar. But in addition to that, it can help with your cholesterol by lowering it. It can lower triglycerides. It can possibly promote weight loss. The research is very flimsy on that right now.
Okay.
It's
to be determined.
To be determined.
Well, as you said, this is still in its kind of, you know.
Yeah, it's evolving.
Yeah.
But because it promotes healthy bacteria in the digestive tract, it can help with all kinds of inflammatory diseases of the digestive tract. So if you have ulcerative colitis or you have Crohn's disease, constipation, diarrhea, all of those can benefit from eating this resistant starch because it makes more good bacteria.
Okay.
And it can also possibly decrease the risk of colon cancer because a healthy bacteria helps with the colon. So where do we get this?
Yes,
and
I know.
So
Sign me up.
Yeah. One of the, there's 4 different types. The one I'm going to focus on is called type 3 resistant starch, and that's from potatoes.
Okay.
And, when you think of diabetes, you think,
I can never eat a potato again in my life.
There's like a potato in the red circle with a line across it,
exactly.
Right? And so what we have found is, yes, potatoes have carbohydrate.
Yeah.
They have a fairly high glycemic index, which means when you eat it, it'll raise your blood sugar fairly quickly.
Yep.
So we're guided in having limited amounts of potatoes. And if we're having them, we have them with the skin on because that adds a little bit of fiber. But what we have found is if you cook a potato and then you let it cool, now I've seen I've heard 12 hours, but I read 24 hours. So you cook it a day ahead of time.
Okay.
Then that process of the cooking and the cooling raises the amount of resistant starch in the potato.
John Hopkins I just was reading about it because you guys are talking about it.
Yeah.
And they say 24 hours.
24.
Yep.
And that's part of their diabetic listing.
Yeah, that is.
Right.
I had never heard of this.
Right.
So you make them the day before.
Right.
Put them in the refrigerator.
Right. And the key is it was suggested not just out on the counter, that you put them in the refrigerator because the cold helps along the process. So if you have a cup of potatoes, which is about 37 grams of total carbs, you end up the next day with almost 2 grams of those carbs being resistant starch, which does make a difference.
Okay.
However, we don't want to eat potatoes every day.
Right. Yeah.
So where else can we get it? Well, I have found it's not a pretty package, but this is unmodified potato starch.
Okay.
And in a tablespoon of unmodified potato starch, you get 8 grams of
wow.
resistant starch.
So what does one do with unmodified potato starch?
What can we mix that with to
I've
make it
actually never
palatable?
heard of that. Thank you,
So-
Pete. Exactly.
I don't know if you can see in the window. It's just like a white fluffy powder.
Yes, yeah.
It's almost like
Can it be substituted for
looks
flour?
like cornstarch is what it looks like.
it does, and you don't want to use. By the way, you don't want to use potato flour. You want to use potato starch, and you need it to be unmodified.
Okay.
So I specifically looked up. Bob's Red Mill makes one. This just
Okay.
happened to be something I found.
Okay.
Well, let me back up. A tablespoon is what you would start with.
Okay.
And it is pretty flavorless. It dissolves in liquids pretty easily.
Okay.
So I made oatmeal for breakfast the other day. Monday is when I started this. And I stirred in my tablespoon of potato starch. And you couldn't even tell it was there except for the fact that you need more water because it does make it starch. So it absorbs
Well, that's what I
the
was going to
water.
ask you. Does it make it thicker? I
It
mean,
does.
usually you
It
starch
made it
as a
thicker.
thickening agent. Okay.
Right.
All right. Okay.
So I couldn't tell it was in there other than the consistency.
Right.
So
No
the
flavor.
next time you make it, you use a little more water.
Okay.
You can stir it into anything: soup, stew, yogurt, applesauce. I'm going to try stirring it into nut butter because I eat soy nut butter a lot.
Okay.
Last time I tried stirring something into peanut butter, it was non-fat dry milk, and it made it really soupy. I have no idea the food science behind that.
That's an interesting chemical reaction.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
loves
try
to cook.
this.
Pete loves to cook, so he's right. He's involved in all this. He's probably taking notes over there.
I am, and I'm looking it up online how to order it.
Yeah.
Because I like it.
Yeah.
I can modify it, put it into soups and
Sure.
things, broths
Right.
and things
Sure.
like that,
Stew,
or even
things like that.
gravies.
Yeah.
Right. So one thing that I read said that you shouldn't reheat it. One thing, or several said that you can reheat it and it won't lower the effect of the resistant starch. So I'm going with the more studies I read said you can reheat it.
Okay.
This the same thing goes with the potatoes. You can reheat those and still get the benefit of the resistant potato starch. If you want to play around with cold potatoes, you can. I'm not talking about just turning them into mayonnaise-y,
I know. Like
creamy
the only thing I
potato
could think of was
salad.
like potato salad. I'm thinking, what else do you do with a cold potato?
Yeah, I had never eaten them in a salad, but someone had suggested.
Really?
Well, I had gone to France once, and their idea of it wasn't Caesar salad, a chef salad had cubes of cold cooked potato on it. So
Okay.
now I do.
Yes,
that.
I could kind of see that.
Yeah. So what you want to do is, if you want to try this, start with 1 tablespoon a day. The maximum is 4. So after 4, they don't see any additional benefits.
So these containers that they sell at Amazon will last you a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you're only using a tablespoon, I would
'Cause
think
I sound
it
like
would last a long
2.5 pounds.
Right. So this packet that I bought, I think, is a 1 pound.
Okay.
But you can also get, Bob's Red Mill is available at Big Y, Stop and Shop,
Yep.
Ocean State Job Lot.
Yeah, I was going to say Ocean State has a
Yep.
lot of the
Yep.
bread mill.
You want to spread it out over the whole day. And you do want to introduce it slowly because just like any fiber, if you bump up your fiber, you can become gassy.
Yeah, I was
and
going to say you're
constipated.
going to have some
Yeah.
gastrointestinal issues
Right.
going on there.
So you may not be able to tolerate 4 tablespoons, and it's not an all or nothing proposition. If one day you have some and one day you don't, it's still all okay.
Yeah.
You won't necessarily see the full impact for 2 to 4 weeks, though. That's
Okay.
what the research so far says.
Okay.
So, I don't know. There's not really a way to determine test-wise if it's having a GI impact other than if you're usually constipated
Right.
and you're not, or you usually have diarrhea and you're not.
Yep.
But if you test your blood sugar numbers, you're certainly going to be able to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just know again that you'll see it more likely after a meal
Okay.
having an impact.
Okay. All right, let's take a little bit of a break. That's a lot to digest. No pun intended, but okay. It is 7:21. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We have to play Jen's theme song, No Sugar Tonight in My Coffee.
Inside, find a corner where I can hide. Silent footsteps crowding me. Sudden darkness, but I can see. No sugar tonight in my coffee. No sugar tonight in my tea. No sugar to stand beside me. No sugar to run with me. Says yes, and I believe him when we talk about the things I say. She hasn't got the faith or the guts to leave him when they're standing in each other's way. You're tripping back now to places you've been to. You wonder what you're gonna find. You know you've been wrong, but it won't be long before you leave him all far behind. 'Cause it's the new Mother Nature taking over. It's the new splendid lady come to go. It's the new Mother Nature taking over. She's getting us all. She's getting us all. Chocolate said no when I came back last time. It's looking like I lost a friend. No use calling 'cause the sky is falling and I'm getting pretty near the end. A smoke-filled room in a corner basement. The situation must be right. A bag of goodies and a bottle of wine. We're gonna get it on right tonight. 'Cause it's the new Mother Nature taking over. It's the new splendid lady come to go. It's the new Mother Nature taking over. She's getting us all. She's getting us all. Lonely feeling says yes, and I believe him when we talk about the things I say. Find the corner. She hasn't got the faith or the guts to leave him when they're standing in each other's way. Silent footsteps out to places you've been to. You wonder what you're gonna find. Sudden darkness. You've been wrong, and it won't be long before you leave them all far behind. 'Cause it's the new Mother Nature taking over. It's the new splendid lady come to call. It's the new Mother Nature taking over. She's getting us all. She's getting us all.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Join us the third Wednesday of every month with Selectman Joe Didi and his take on everything Southwick.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:27. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman, and happy St. Patrick's Day. And with me this morning in the studio is Jen Jafune, who is facilitating our Diabetes Dialogue segment. We've been talking about resistant starch, but the topic of the day is actually preparing diabetic-friendly meals. So where would you like to begin? Because there's a lot to it, Jen.
There is
Okay,
a lot.
where would you like to start?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that meals that would be appropriate for someone who's managing diabetes is appropriate for everybody.
Yes, and actually, I will say that Pete and I talked about that first hour, and when I was kind of doing the introduction and letting people know you were going to be joining us second hour, and I was telling Pete, I said, when people ask you, Jen, I want to lose weight, or what diet is, there are a zillion diets out there,
Right.
the gluten-free and the this-free and the no carbs and the, water every day, and, whatever it is. I said to Pete, I said, I know Jen has said in the past, if you follow a diabetic diet, that is the way to go.
That is the way to go.
So it's appropriate for anybody. It's a healthy diet.
It is. It's a balanced, healthy eating plan.
Eating plan.
It's
Yes, thank you.
lean protein, heart-healthy fat. It's portion control carbs. It's high fiber. It's low sodium.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that it's boring, plain, and
unappealing. Yeah.
So, as I thought about this, it's such a broad topic.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make cooking and baking diabetes friendly? Well, one of the first things I thought of is that you have to have the right tools.
Okay.
So you may want to, even if you're not a big time cook, invest in a few things.
Okay. So what do I need in my toolbox?
Such as, and this is new for me, and I don't even have this on my little handout. I wish I had thought of it earlier.
No, it's okay.
I don't know if you know what a mandolin is, but
I do not.
It
sounds like a musical instrument.
It does, doesn't it? It's a flat stand with a sharp blade and a holder, and you can put anything in it and slice things really thin. So, like, you can take a potato and slice it really thin on this mandolin instead of trying to do it thin with a knife.
Yeah.
And you can cut all kinds of fruits and veggies. I wouldn't cut meat with a mandolin.
Okay.
But
I gotta write this down.
Okay.
I've never heard of that. Like, how big is this?
Oh,
thing?
it's
not too.
I have one. It's like this long.
Is
and
it like
maybe
a
this
bowl
wide.
with a?
No,
it's not. Okay.
It almost looks like one side of a cheese grater.
Okay.
But it just has one sharp blade in it.
Okay.
Other things that would be helpful would be like a George Foreman grill. Because and that's written on here, Tina.
Okay.
The handout that I always make for everybody.
Okay.
I don't have one of these, but everybody speaks so fondly of them. But an air fryer, especially if you like things like fried, chicken fries, basic fries.
Yeah.
And I don't have one of these either, but an Instant Pot.
An Instant Pot, yeah.
Yep. I have a slow cooker, and I think it's the best thing ever. And mine has different size inserts. So if I want to make a smaller meal or a bigger meal, I can do that.
In the old days, we called those crock pots, just so that we're all on the same page of what we're talking about. So,
my original one was a crock pot.
And I'm not sure, because Grace she asked last year for an Instapot. Because she thought she would be in her own apartment by now, not realizing that COVID was going to hit. She'll probably be living at home until she gets married someday, but that's okay. She had asked for a crock pot as well, but what does an Instapot do? Like, it's still in the box and it's over at my neighbor's. We're storing things for her future apartment at my neighbor's.
I believe, and I haven't done a lot of research into it, I believe an Instapot is the modern day version of a pressure
cooker. Okay. All right.
And, when I was cleaning out my mom's things, moving her into the nursing home, she had a pressure cooker, and I could kick myself. I got rid of it.
Yeah.
Something that is super easy, inexpensive to have is a steamer. So just the steamer basket.
Yep.
And
you can get those anywhere.
Yep. And last year, I bought myself a dehydrator. It's the best thing I ever got. You can dehydrate fruits and vegetables. I know you can dehydrate meats, but I have not tried that yet.
Okay.
But it's a great way to add a little bit of a different flavor to things or a different texture to things.
Okay.
So, a regular grill is nice if you have space for it. And, so a toaster
And you know what?
oven.
That's what I find about a lot of these like the kitchen appliance things.
Yes.
They take up a lot of room. So,
Yes, they do.
I mean, you really have to have things that you're going to use. Because if you're going to use them once a year, just borrow it from somebody.
Someone.
Yep.
Okay. So, then I started to think about there's so many food substitutions. So I have to mention that I'm the queen of substitutions. The last thing I want to do is go to the store for one thing because, not thinking of COVID, but just in general, if I go to the store for one thing, I walk out with $65 worth of food.
Well, because they always ask you that question. Did you find everything you were looking for? I always say to them, yes, and about 40,000 other things that I wasn't really looking for, but I realized, I need that, or that would be good to have.
Yeah,
So,
or you're like me and you go, oh, shoot, I came here for that, and I've, all this food is on the conveyor belt except the thing I came for.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So, in the old days, before the internet, I had memorized the page in the Joy of Cooking book I got as a wedding gift that had the substitutions. Nowadays you can look up anything. But what I discovered is it's not only for ingredients that I'm missing, but maybe things that I want to combine with other things. So an example might be if I'm making spaghetti and meatballs for dinner tonight, I might use half pasta and then I might use half zoodles. So
I don't even know what zoodles are.
Zoodles are the zucchini that look like noodles.
Yes, okay.
So I just cut the carbs in half. I still have some pasta, but I also have some fiber and some vitamins.
idea.
So it doesn't have to be an all or nothing.
Yes.
I doubt I could sell an all zoodles plate at my house.
Yes.
But I can do 50-50 because, my husband will just think, oh, that's the vegetable for dinner.
Yeah.
And it just happens to look like the spaghetti.
Right. Exactly.
And you can buy inexpensive vegetable noodle makers. You can buy expensive ones that you attach to a KitchenAid, or you can just buy them already made at the supermarket. I will say if you buy them at the supermarket, you should really, just like fish, use them the same day.
Use them right away. Yeah, exactly.
You can also do things like easy things, substitute some of the fat. So use less of it overall, or use some oil, liquid oil, like an olive oil for some of the butter or the shortening or the lard. So anything that's solid at room temperature, that's a fat, you may want to try using a little liquid oil. It doesn't have to be all oil. When you're cooking with flour, you can try, if the recipe calls for white flour, you could try 25% whole wheat with 75% white flour.
Yep.
If that's acceptable, the next time you make it, maybe you go 40, 60, 50-50 until it either
play
falls
with it a little
apart
bit,
or it's unacceptable.
Or your family says,
Right.
no,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
And I've gotten that.
I know you have. That's the only reason I said that. Your family absolutely cracks me up because I just thought, Oh my gosh. I remember the first time we went out for dinner. I thought, how do you go out for dinner with somebody who's a dietitian? I said to Gary ahead of time, okay, be very careful what you eat. And until I met your husband, and, Joe was like, oh, yeah, no. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
so, they're real people that eat real food, and
Right.
they will, your family's happy to tell you when, no, Mom, this is not working.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So other things that I thought of, so I told you during the break, Tina, that I had a hard time organizing this information.
Yes.
So I've just got a bunch of things. So I'm just going to throw out a few of them.
Okay.
One might be to use avocado in place of butter. Now, that's not going to work in everything. And I can say one of my most epic fails was making an avocado buttercream frosting. That was bad. It even had chocolate in it, and we couldn't eat it.
Okay.
Okay.
Still bad.
Yep.
But when would you use avocado?
So, making a sandwich, you could put you could smash up avocado, spread it on bread instead of mayonnaise. It has a creamy sensation.
Now, okay, this goes to, see, we're going to branch off into many different areas because Gary and I have had this discussion before. I don't buy avocados. I don't even know I don't know what to look for. Like when I get bananas or I get apples or I get, carrots or something, like potatoes, it's like I know what I'm looking for, and it's like, no, that's a reject. No, this is a good one. I wouldn't know a good avocado from a not good avocado. How do you decide?
I buy the avocados that are the size of maybe a pear.
Okay.
Because you can get an avocado that's almost the size of a football these days.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you take your thumb, and of course we probably shouldn't be touching anything, but if you take your thumb and you can press into the avocado enough to indent maybe not even a quarter of an inch.
Just a little bit.
So it has a little give, then it's a good avocado.
Okay.
If you can really, without too much effort, press in and it stays indented, I wouldn't buy that.
Okay.
And if it's hard, I have there are ways online that tell you how to ripen it. I have never been successful at ripening an avocado.
So it's not like a banana, like if you buy it and then you just let it sit for several days. Like if you get a green banana, you know that if you let it sit for a few days, it'll start to turn yellow and it'll soften up a little bit, and then it's good to eat, but not so much.
I have not perfected that skill.
Okay.
And I even read a thing about putting it in an oven at a low temperature to soften it up. Yeah, that was an epic fail as well.
That did not work. Okay, good to know. Thank you for all the mistakes that you've made so that we don't have to.
I think the thing that I'm trying to say is you can try some of these things and they may work, they may not, but at least you'll know. And then for the next time you can do it a little bit differently.
Now, do you peel avocados?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
you do. You peel them.
Yep.
Do you use a regular peeler like a potato peeler, or no, do you have to cut them?
So if this were my avocado, I would cut it like this.
Yep, okay.
And then cut it like that because there's a big pit in the middle.
Okay, gotcha.
And then when you take it out, and I saw this at a lunch place that no longer exists in Westfield.
Okay.
You put your half on the table.
Yep.
You remove your hand. You take a big knife and you go whack right into the pit. If you turn the knife just like a teeny bit, the pit comes right out.
Oh, no
it's
kidding.
very hard to get out otherwise, but you don't want to be holding it.
Okay.
Because you could risk cutting yourself.
Okay.
And then you just take a big spoon and you scoop the whole thing out.
And you scoop it. Okay. All right. So you
at least that's how I've always done it.
All right. And you can use this as, like you're saying, possibly as kind of like a substitute for mayonnaise, like on a sandwich.
Yep. It could be a heart healthy fat in a salad.
Okay.
So instead of adding cheese, you could chop up chunks of avocado and throw it in there.
Does avocado what does it taste like?
I have read descriptions, and it's because it's hard to describe. I feel like it's mildly, and I mean mildly smoky.
Oh,
but I wouldn't call it smoky.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. But it has some flavor.
Yeah,
some things have, like that potato starch.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't have any flavor. Okay.
And it's got a nice creamy feel to it. So if you're looking for that creamy mouthfeel, it's definitely a good place to get it.
All right.
That's heart healthy.
Okay.
Okay. So,
what else you have there?
Okay, so other things. I mean, some things most people know, use low-fat milk instead of whole milk.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking to make something thicker, though, with your milk, you may want to take a tablespoon of flour and shake it up, just like if you were making gravy.
Like a gravy, yep.
Before you cook with it. That's a common one. Most people know to try using some ground chicken breast or ground turkey breast with their ground beef. Some people think they have to use only ground chicken or ground turkey breast. And what I say is, use both. Almost like you would make a meatloaf mix using multiple ground beefs. Just use ground chicken with your ground beef or ground turkey.
All right, so let's just stop and talk about that for a minute. 'Cause, I know I got a lot of older people that watch this show.
Right.
So what is the problem with ground beef?
Ground beef is higher in fat, and the type of fat is saturated fat, and saturated fat raises your total cholesterol and your LDL, which is the bad cholesterol.
Okay.
So, I have a hard time with the 97% lean ground beef title. It is 97% lean, which means only 3% fat, but that's 3% fat by weight, not by calories.
Okay.
So 3%, fat is like cotton balls. It's light and fluffy, but there's 9 calories per gram in fat. If you compare that to protein or carbohydrates, there's 4.
Okay.
So it's 2 times, more than 2 times the amount of fat in ground beef. In fat than there is in carbs or protein.
Okay.
So ground beef tends to be somewhere between, I would say, 25 and 40% fat calories.
Okay.
Whereas if you get ground chicken breast or ground turkey breast, and I'm not saying ground chicken, period, end of sentence, I'm saying ground chicken breast, you lower the fat calories to maybe 20% or less.
Okay.
So it does make a difference.
Okay.
And but it's hard to cook 100% ground chicken or ground turkey. So you can do a mix.
There is a thing. I mean, I think a lot of cooking has to do with, and food preparation has to do with consistency. It's not just about flavor.
Right.
There is, it also has to be somewhat appealing to look at. I think, I think that's a big thing because yourself, you have a little kid and you say, eat this, and they look at it and say, oh, that looks disgusting.
Right.
Or a big kid.
Right. Or an adult.
Or like an adult, husband or wife. It's like, okay, yeah, no, I don't think so. So, I mean, not that looks are everything, because sometimes it's like, hey, listen, this is really delicious, and you taste it, and it's like, wow, you're right, it really is. Not so much to look at, but there is,
So just like with the flour, you start out maybe a cup of this and 3 cups of that, and then you go, you kind of find the point of acceptance, and then the one hair over, it's not going to happen.
It's not happening.
Okay. But you can use that.
All right, so we have ground chicken or ground turkey, but you mentioned breast. Yes. So let's talk about that. Why? Because you were very specific about that.
Because in plain ground chicken and plain ground turkey, they do throw in the skin, which has fat in it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So yeah, I'm very clear. The problem is when it cooks up, there is not much fat in it.
So it's like crumbly.
It can be very crumbly. So you do want a binder.
Yes.
So an egg white is more than enough of a binder.
Okay.
So speaking of eggs, we can talk about eggs.
Yes, let's talk about eggs.
So eggs, everyone avoids them because of cholesterol. Eggs have less cholesterol in them than we always thought because they got better at testing. But it's not the cholesterol in the eggs that's the problem. It's the saturated fat. The saturated fat is what raises our blood cholesterol more than the cholesterol in anything we eat. So we can do things like 2 egg whites from 1 whole egg. If you're baking something you want it to rise, you do need at least 1 whole egg in it. But for the rest of it, it could be 2 egg whites for 1 whole egg. You can also, because I'm one of those people who doesn't go to the store, let's say you're trying to cook something and you're out of eggs. Well, then what do? Well, my daughter and I discovered a substitute, and it is 2 tablespoons of cornstarch combined with 3 tablespoons of water equals 1 whole egg. And we use that in baking, and it works like a charm.
No kidding.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where
Say that again. How much cornstarch?
2 tablespoons of cornstarch mixed in ahead of time to 3 tablespoons of water is a substitute for one whole egg, and it works like a charm.
Okay.
It's a substitute that people who are egg allergic will use in baking.
Okay.
And
Can you substitute a substitute like arrowroot?
I don't know that answer, but I can look it up.
You have to, yeah.
And I honestly, I wish.
Because I've been reading while you guys are talking. I've been listening and I've been reading. So
Yeah, what I
that
don't.
might be a possibility for gluten-free arrowroot.
Yes. Well, cornstarch is gluten-free.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. But I just thought of this. I wonder if potato starch would work.
Ooh.
So what's going to happen is I'm baking this weekend.
Yes.
So
Jen's going to try that.
try the potato starch root. Okay, so other things.
Okay, wait, let's stop there. So that's the egg thing, because I'm already like one break behind.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm really good at doing
can
when I
skip
get
over
when I get involved. Well, I already skipped the 7:30, so let's do the 7:46. That'll give Jen a little bit of time to look over her notes and kind of catch her breath. We are going to listen to "Welcome Back, Kotter." Right? Is that the song that we're going to play? Yes.
No.
Oh, we're not. We're gonna.
You
what
can
are
do
we-
that one and I can replace the last one.
Okay. All right. So we're going to do my Saw Doctors one.
Yeah, but I want to do Patrick's closing song.
Yes. Okay. You can definitely do that. So
Okay.
which song do you want to do now then? Now I'm confused.
John Sebastian.
Okay, great. So we'll do Welcome Back by John Sebastian in honor of his birthday. We'll be back.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained and they've turned around. Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Back here where we need ya. Back here where we need ya. Yeah, we tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. We always could spot a friend. Welcome back. And I smile when I think how it must have been. And I know what a scene you were learning in. Was there something that made you come back again? And what could ever lead you? What could ever lead you? Back here where we need you. Back here where we need you. Yeah, we tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back. And I know what a scene you were learning in. Was there something that made you come back again? And what could ever lead you? What could ever lead you? Back here where we need you. Back here where we need you. Yeah, we tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back. Yeah, we tease him a lot. Welcome back, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back, welcome back. Yeah, we tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield. Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. Happy St. Patrick's Day. It is March 17th. It is 7:50. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. My name is Tina Gorman, and in the studio this morning, we have Jen Jaffoon, our resident registered dietitian and our facilitator for Diabetes Dialogue. We're talking about menus and cooking and ingredients and food substitutions and so forth. And we decided during the break, as I thought that we might, when I looked at this topic, this is going to be a part one and a part two. So for those of you who don't cook and we're looking forward to the part where we talk about how do you make good, healthy meals without necessarily cooking, you're going to have to tune in next month in April, because that'll be the topic, because I don't want to rush through all of this just to try to jam it all in, because we only have 8 minutes left on this segment. So we will do this as a part one and a part two. And as I said to Jen, that's the beauty of hosting your own talk show, is that you can make those substitutions. So
that's right.
Speaking of substitutions, Jen, let's talk. We talked a little bit about substituting egg substitutes. What else do you have on that list?
Okay, so I just thought, I thought we would talk about how to lower the sodium.
Okay. Good
less
one.
salt.
Yes.
And it made me think of another tool you might want to have that I don't have on my list, but a mortar and pestle. So that's the cup with the long stick, and you would rub it around to break herbs and spices down into smaller
like a grinder
pieces.
almost.
It's almost, you can buy a spice grinder.
Oh, okay.
But I, again, when I cleaned out my mom's, threw out the mortar and pestle going, who would ever use this? And found myself buying one this past year.
There you go.
So salt is used. People love salt. It's a flavor enhancer.
Yeah.
So that's why we consume it. I would say it does preserve food, but we don't really preserve food like salt was intended 100 years ago. Yeah. But the majority of people who have diabetes also have heart health issues. And honestly, everyone who sees me, I direct them towards a lower sodium intake, whether they have high blood pressure or congestive heart failure or any heart issues, just because it's healthier for everybody to be on a lower sodium intake. So food then in most people's minds will be boring, plain, and taste awful. And I say, absolutely not. You just have to learn new ways to flavor your food.
Right.
So most people know, there's a million herbs and spices out there. And my only thing, if you're looking for new herbs and spices that are dried at the store, is make sure it doesn't have salt added to it. So even if it says on the front lemon pepper, turn it around and look at the ingredient list or the sodium content, because it can be lemon pepper or lemon pepper salt. Garlic powder versus garlic salt. Onion powder versus onion salt. So be conscientious. And the technical term for salt is sodium. Just so that people know what they're looking for, right? So salt is a combination of sodium and chloride. So anytime you eat salt, you're getting sodium. And the thing is, sodium can appear in other foods in other forms. So if you've read a label and you've seen something that says sodium benzoate, sodium, I can't remember the other
something
ones.
that we can't pronounce, yes.
It doesn't have to taste salty to have sodium in it.
Right.
So, for example, ice cream can have sodium in it.
Sure.
Sodium alginate. It makes it creamy. So just beware.
Okay.
But getting back to herbs and seasonings. So there are options. There's powdered, there's dried, and there's fresh.
Okay.
That's pretty much what we've got out there. So the powdered is all ground and ready to use. The dried is clearly ready to use, but one thing that I always suggest people do is before you add the dried basil flakes to your food, put them in your hand, rub your hands together as you add it to your food. And what that will do is release the essential oils, so you'll get more flavor from that dried herb than if you had just thrown it in.
Okay.
The other thing is, although you don't see dates on herbs and spices, they do go bad. And I don't know off the top of my head how many months or years you can keep them, because if you're like me, you keep them for a long, long time.
Right.
But my general rule of thumb is if you open it and it really doesn't smell, you need a new one.
Okay.
Okay. But I'm sure by next month I'll know
Or if
how
it
many months.
or if it smells like it's not supposed to smell.
Well, right, yes.
And are there certain? I never knew this, but we're Hungarian. I shouldn't say that on St. Patrick's Day, I guess.
It's okay.
But in Hungarian cooking, they use a lot of paprika.
Yep.
And I learned somewhere along the line that, and I don't even know if this is true, I think my sister-in-law told me that you're supposed to keep paprika in the refrigerator because it can go bad.
I
guess it
used
can get rancid.
to keep a lot of my containers in the freezer.
Okay.
To keep them
fresher
for longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'll have to look up the timing.
Well, I
don't
never
know.
did, and then she told me that, so I now have
Yeah.
my thing of paprika, which is probably like 1,000 years old because I don't use that much. I don't do that much Hungarian cooking. But
Right.
anyway, okay, all right. So just something to think about.
And being the type who doesn't like to, run to the store for one thing, if a recipe calls for fresh versus dried, it's a 3-to-1 ratio. So a tablespoon of fresh is 1/3 of a teaspoon dried. So it's 1
No,
I'm sorry,
it's
1 teaspoon. Sorry, I
because
did
there are
that
3
wrong.
teaspoons in a
Yes.
tablespoon. Okay.
1 teaspoon of dried equals 3 teaspoons.
Okay, so the dried is
fresh.
more concentrated.
Yes.
Okay, got
Yes.
it. All right.
Thank you. Yep. Math was never my big.
And now,
thing.
what about if it calls for dried and you're using powdered? That's the one that I never know. I'm like,
I
okay,
use
how
them the
much
same.
should I use? Okay,
I
all
do
right,
the
okay,
same.
okay. That's the same.
But what I have also found with this mortar and pestle is it does release more flavor. So I can't take fennel seeds and rub them between my hands and do anything to them other than rub them between my hands.
Right, exactly.
So I put them in my mortar and pestle and I grind them up part way to release more flavor.
Got it.
So, last night I made a new chicken dish and it called for caraway seeds. And, I thought, do they do as much unless they're ground, will I get as much flavor? So I partially ground those up. And it's a new seasoning for me. This year is the first year I've ever used it, caraway seeds. So,
yeah.
It just adds a different flavor, a different complexity to a meal.
Right. And I think, somebody had told me before I got married and, started cooking that the secret to really good cooking was to know your herbs and spices.
Yeah.
But I agree with that. I have some charts, like I have some big charts that my mom gave me from 1,000 years ago. And it'll tell you, like what the spice is and what are the kinds of, like, this is good in stews or casseroles
soups,
or whatever, or this is good in salads, or this is good in whatever. But I think that, is there any, I guess you just really have to experiment, right?
Just like all the other things in cooking, it's
because of course
trial
it's to
and
taste.
error. Right, and it's subjective.
Yeah.
I have cooked with these caraway seeds a few times this year, and I actually really like the flavor. My husband, not so much.
Yeah.
So, since my goal is to feed him, I have cooked with them less.
Yeah.
So, my husband is so good. He'll eat anything once, and we'll have a conversation, and I don't get offended by this. I'll say, well, what do you think? Do again or not do again? And he'll say, I'll finish it, but let's not do this again. And that's perfectly, I don't take offense to that.
This is Garrett. This is my husband's way of telling me that he's not really thrilled with something. He won't tell me that because he doesn't cook.
Right.
So he always feels like I shouldn't criticize unless I'm going to take over the job. So he'll say something like, when I try something new, so Teen, what do you think about this? What do you think about this recipe? And, it's so funny. And when we were newly married, because he really didn't want to hurt my feelings and say to me, I really hate this. And Gary's actually very easy to cook for. There's very little that he won't eat. There's very little that he doesn't like. And so there's a lot that he'll sometimes he'll just say, it's okay. It's not it's nothing great. Sometimes if it's a recipe that we think we can salvage a little bit, we'll kind of go, okay, well, if I do this, this, and this, and then I'll do that, that, and that. And then if it's not good or great, it's like, okay, this one gets tossed.
Well, I would say in my experience, for every 10 or 15 new things I try, I get one do again.
Okay.
But, we still get fed.
Yeah, there it is.
So I'll take one new recipe every 3 weeks isn't that bad, and so
okay,
I'm willing to try it. I won't try new recipes every day.
Yeah. You'd be moving out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just realized that I'm already over time because, so this is part 1. We will continue this topic next month. We will definitely get to, we probably have some more on the substitution list, right? Do we have
you know what? I'm going to take this home and work more on it.
Yes, because Jen keeps, the problem is she came in with a list of 25, but she already kept adding things as we were going. So we're going to refine that list a little bit more, expand that a little bit more, get to those people who don't like to cook, but need to do good meal preparation. So we're going to take all of that for next month. In the meantime, happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Enjoy, be safe. Wear your mask. I have people coming in with green masks now, so it's kind of fun. And Joe Didi is on deck. Yes, Joe Didi is on deck, talking all things Southwick. Pete's gonna take us out with a Saw Doctor's number, and I will see you next week.